Welcome to the Ray Bros Nerd Show. I'm your host, Jonathan, with my brother, Zach.
What's up, guys?
And we are on episode 10. We made it. I'm pretty pumped up about it. I don't know why. I just feel like it's a good balance of numbers.
He's real excited.
I even messaged him like, dude, we're totally coming up on our 10th episode. I feel like we should do something like really, really exciting. He's like, or we could just record normally? Like,
That'd probably work.
So we came up with a few topics for this episode, but first things first, I did have technically a request of information from a listener. So the question was, and we're not allowed to use Blade information from it, but if a vampire bites a pregnant lady, does the baby automatically become a vampire?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, it's because it's transferred through the blood. The bite goes into the veins. It's, not even like a zombie. A zombie could just, break the skin and it's, infected. But vampires specifically in the blood, if they're turning, when it comes to, a vampire turning, depending on what universe or whatever, yeah. And so what happens, women get really dizzy when they're pregnant, and that's because, their liver, is it your liver? I don't know. It's been a long week. But whatever is pumping your blood through, making the blood, it has to make a shit ton of blood.
Yeah.
To then pump it into the baby.
Yeah.
So it's they go through a single feeding tube.
Yeah, this is getting kind of...
Yeah, the umbilical cord. But this is important. This is science.
Science.
It goes through the umbilical cord, and it's literally feeding them and, giving them blood and all that stuff.
Yeah. He told me I wasn't allowed to use blades, so I thought of the closest reference I could make to a baby being born outside of being normal or whatever. So I thought of Dawn of the Dead again.
Yeah, the zombie baby.
Yeah, there's a lady that gets bit or scratched actually, and she gives birth to a baby. Oh, that's a lot of babies in a row. She gives birth, and it's automatically a zombie once it comes out. So I just assume yes, I don't know how else to
Well, I think it's just scientifically if you're not going through the certain ones where it's a whole ritual of turning where they bite you and you bite them and that kind of thing, if it's just you can get turned by a vampire and a pregnant woman gets bitten, yes, that baby has to be a vampire.
Yeah.
To me, that only makes sense because the blood's getting transferred to that baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a blood infection thing, so.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sorry to look at it in such a dull.
But here's my question: would it stay a baby? Because vampires don't age necessarily, do they? I don't think they age. So would it just stay a baby?
Well, they age.
Do they?
I mean, once again, this is all like in Bram Stoker.
It depends on the vampire because remember, Just Let Me In or Let the Right Ones In. Yeah, she always stays a teenager.
Yeah, but if you watch Bram Stoker's Dracula, he's old as dirt in that movie.
Yeah.
Which is...
but that's after, hundreds of years old.
Yeah. So. I mean...
So how long would it stay a baby?
I mean, that would be weird.
I didn't think about it until just now, so...
Because then at that point, they don't even grow big enough to, roll and, come out. It might just... But no, it wouldn't even have teeth.
It wouldn't. But it'd still be technically a vampire by blood. It just wouldn't be a vampire by looks. I don't know.
Yeah, then we're getting into a whole conversation that's, pretty hot button issue right now. So,
yeah.
That's...
So, long story short, I think the answer is yes. It just, now I kind of do wonder, would the baby age? Because...
See, I almost want to follow up. He said we can't use Blade, which means he has a knowledge of other universes. So I'd almost
Well, in the movie Blade, they cover it where a lady gives birth and it's a vampire. In the movie Blade, I can't remember which one.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if we can't use that one. I'm wondering
if there's another one.
Version of vampires he would prefer us to use.
Well, just to make fun of them, probably the Twilight ones. I'm just totally kidding. And we lost our one listener.
Yeah. I heard there was a part of that storyline or something where I guess it's a love triangle and one's a werewolf, one's a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the vampire and the girl make a baby, and I think it's the opposite, where the baby actually like rapidly ages or something. Or regardless, like the werewolf who was in love with the mom, falls in love with the baby.
Okay. Anyways, we're moving on.
Somebody told me that, and I didn't know if they were lying, and I never wanted to look it up. But I was just like, those things were even more fucked up for young girls to be reading than I thought.
Yeah.
Like, talk about ruining brains and shit.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. So what was the topic? You messaged it to me, and of course my brain is not working right now.
Okay, so my topic, and I said I was going to do research. I didn't do any research. But it's happened, it happened with the 2 games I beat back to back.
Okay, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So the last game I beat was Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah.
Then I think it was yesterday. I believe it was last night. I beat Final Fantasy 15, but it turns out there's like gotta be probably another shit ton of hours in that game. Because I found this dungeon today, and I spent like an hour in that one dungeon, just like, because it was like puzzles. So you'd be fighting really tough enemies, then you fight this super tough like snake thing.
Snake!
But then you're having to like unlock doors. But that's besides the point. Final Fantasy 15, still calling it my game of the year.
Yeah.
Even after this issue that I'm going to talk about. And turns out, like, I did look it up, and a lot of people feel the same way about Final Fantasy 15. But the problem I have with these 2 games that I beat in a row is in the last, chapter, last mission, whatever it is, they change the gameplay completely. So, in Watch Dogs 2, I played most of that game as a stealth game.
Yeah.
And, like, the gun you always have like a stun gun. So, and then you can equip your, because you get
I saw you with like an AK at one point or something.
Yeah, like, I would bounce back and forth depending on who I was going against. Like, if I was fighting gang members, I would drop those motherfuckers. But if I'm in, like, because they have, like, Google and Facebook type surrogate type things where they can't call it that, but infiltrate those companies. If I'm going up against their security there, then I'm not going to kill them, because technically there's nothing saying that these guys are evil. They may work for an evil corporation, but your job is to expose the truth. So why would the security guards know that?
Yeah.
So, and that was the way I played the character. So a lot of the game I played it relatively slow and, try to kill as few people as possible. The last, like, mission in that game, and it's like a 4-part mission, because the whole game you play as Marcus. But then in the final mission, you have this period where you're playing as some of your, like, other people in the game who you work with. And they decided they completely changed the game by, one of the guys who you work with is this crazy guy with an emoji mask, like his face like animates and stuff. They completely change it by then you start that mission with a grenade launcher and you're told to just blow shit up. Oh. And I try to do it stealth, and you can't. Like, no matter what, there's impossible. Too many guys at too many corners to take out enough guys to get to where you need to go. Yeah. So you're having to drop a ton, and if you're not going stealth, the stun gun isn't effective enough. There's too many guys. So I was already like, what the fuck? But I guess, that's not the character I was playing as. That's this crazy dude. Because you were going after security forces. So I was like, whatever. But then you get into the last mission, like, where you're playing as the actual, like, main character. And it's hard as balls. Like, once again, like, you can go stealth for, like, a tiny part of it. And then it's just, like, swarms of guys.
Like a run and gun type thing?
Yeah, like, you have to. So I was like, and Emily was home when I'm, like, trying to beat it. I'm like, why the fuck did they change the way you play the game? Yeah. Like, a game is supposed to, you build up skills and you unlock things to get to the end, to fight, get through the last part, doing it the way you want to do it with all the upgrades that you have, and then you test your skill. But instead it's just like, all right, now here's all the guys.
Yeah, it's like a complete change. It's like you begin, you're like, all right, I'm doing stealth. And then it's like, turret section. You're like, what?
Yeah, and it's literally like you get security called on you, and they come swarming in, and there's only one door to like that you can get out, so you're getting swarmed. So that pissed me off. Like, fortunately, like that game as well overall was really, really fun. Like, I was really into it. Couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15. I'm in love with this game. Like, I was telling you, you could borrow it if you want. Yeah. And then there's like the other part of me that's like, man, I just want to keep playing this. Yeah. Fortunately, I have Dishonored 2 that I'm going to hop into.
Which I got to tell you, like, I gave you a hard time the last time, but I'm like, I want to say I'm proud that you've kept liking this game for an extended period of time. You know what I mean?
And they made it really hard with this last 2.5 hours of this game, because it does this cool thing that I actually really appreciated. And it's basically the whole game is open world. Side quests relatively inconsequential, but you have these big dungeons you do and story quests that actually have cutscenes and stuff. So what they do is throughout most of the opening, like not even the opening, like the first, I'd say 7/8 of the game, you're playing, open world, doing side quests and stuff. There's a little bit of story here and there when it's a story mission. But then once you hit chapter, I'm going to say 8 through, there's like 13 chapters. So 8 through 13 or 14, whatever it is. I think it's actually 14, but 13 is the problem. Once you hit there, then it becomes very funneled. You're now in the story heavy part of the game. Which I thought was really cool, really neat way to approach it. It's just like, all right, now that you're getting into the nitty gritty, now it wouldn't make sense for you to go start this mission and then go spend 30 hours or 5 in-game days doing fuck all, fetching vegetables.
It's like stuff. The princess is on fire. I got 30 hours. I gotta go hunt.
Yeah. So at that point they start funneling you. And that was fine. Like, a lot of cool story stuff was happening from chapters 8 through 12. Mm-hmm. Well, and I don't want to spoil it. Do you have an interest in playing this game?
I do, but if you need to say certain parts, it's fine.
I can break it down, I think, into very simplest terms, and that should work. So basically, you get to chapter 13. The gameplay completely 1000% changes. You lose all your party members. Like, I'm not going to say how or why you lose them, anything like that, but you're, separated from your group. Okay, so the whole game you've got 4 guys with you, and you're tearing shit up. There was like a mission or two where there was one mission where you had 2 of your guys, but not the one guy, and then there was another mission where you just had that guy with you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then they separate you from your group, take all your fucking weapons, and then you're in this super sterile facility, military looking building, and they turn it into a stealth game.
Oh, that's weird.
And then and on top of that,
especially like that, because it's like action adventure RPG,
and then all of a sudden it's stealth, and it's not like stealth where you pop up and stab dudes in the back.
Yeah.
No, you have no weapons, so you have to make sure they get by you before you proceed, and then eventually you get this one item, and you can kind of fight them that way, but it takes for fucking ever. So it's still at that point a stealth game, except for then you go around this corner and a giant fucking spider comes down and starts attacking you, and you have to kill it.
There's no option.
With this item, I'm not going to say what the item is, but you have this one item, and you can do damage, and you can defend yourself, but it takes forever, and it's a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. And see, I had, not to cut you off, but that's I feel like that's a lot of RPGs do that crap sometimes. I've told you 1,000 times where I've beaten a RPG mentally by using all right, ice is weak against fire, almost like a Pokemon reference. My earthquake can take on this person, blah blah blah. But then it gets to a point where it's just sheer strength, and it's what the fuck? I'm just because this guy's stronger than me when I outsmarted. So I'm saying it's so I've been playing this game for 20 hours, and now all of a sudden you're saying this 20 hours was almost next to nothing. You know what I mean?
and that's the other big problem is at the end of the game. Once you get into chapter 14, I believe, Yeah, because it has a title card and everything. Once you get into chapter 14, after you get through this section of chapter 13, which goes on for, I'm not kidding, 2.5 hours. And remember I was telling you can save whenever you want unless you're in a dungeon or in a like specific mission?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a 2.5 hour mission where you can't save whenever you want. You can't sprint unless you're in combat.
What?
Yeah, so the whole time you have a sprint button.
Do they give you a reason why you can't sprint?
No.
So your guy's like legs are fine and everything?
Yeah, and he's just like...
That's so weird.
And so, on top of that, like, so it turns into the stealth game, and it's mostly, you're spending all your time in hallways.
Yeah.
I fucking shit you not, hallways. And then there's this one big open area, and then you
now,
get
are
around.
all the hallways like drab, or is there like some color?
They're just steel, like gray steel.
Oh, that's weird.
It's bad.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole time you have, like...
You can customize your freaking car in that game, and they can't even, like, draw a unicorn on the wall, so you can be like, oh.
Yeah, something interesting. And the enemies that you're facing aren't even, like, interesting enemies. They're enemies that you fight through the whole game who, if you played Final Fantasy VI, they have Magitech armor. Like, I'm not going to spoil, like, in this facility they explain how they're using Magitech and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's sad because the game redeems itself at the end. Because I was talking about, you know, you have these skills and you're unlocking stuff and you're growing towards, you know, the conclusion of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. I need to spoil something.
Okay.
And it might sell you on the game or at least sell you on watching a YouTube video.
He's been trying so bad. And I'm not saying you're doing a bad job, it's just like...
But at the same time, I'm like, well, if he doesn't like The Witcher, he's really not going to like this.
But I never played The Witcher, to be fair.
Well, you played The Witcher 2, and you didn't like it.
Yeah.
And The Witcher 3 is just more of an open world instead of, like, open map.
Yeah.
It's, like, the whole fucking map.
Like, I do honestly want to try it. Like, only because, like, you've liked it consistently. Like, the other ones, like, I've invested with you. You're all of a sudden like, I'm not too sure. I'm like, oh, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, no offense, but you know what I'm saying?
I know. Like, and it's because of shit like this that's been happening with these games where it's like, they completely change everything. But, so, for anybody who's planning on playing Final Fantasy 15, like, fast forward just 30 seconds. I'm going to make it real quick. In 3, 2, 1. In the last mission, you remember Ifrit? The summon Ifrit?
Mm-hmm.
Before you fight the main boss, like the main bad guy in the game, you fight Ifrit.
Nice.
And he's on, like, starts out on a crown attacking you. And then over the game, you're unlocking, you know, summons.
Yeah.
And you call in 3 of your summons to attack Ifrit, who is a summon himself. And on top of that, it's not like they just do the normal animation. They made specific ones of them fighting him.
Nice. So
and it's mind blowing.
So you're like, oh, melting.
Yeah. Like, so you have, you know, the Ice Queen come in and she's like trying to freeze him and stuff. And you have, I think it was Bahamut.
The fire?
No, he's got the swords. He uses the Ultima sword.
Oh, I can't
His
remember.
attack is the Ultima sword. And he's throwing down the swords, and Ifrit's running between them trying to dodge him and shit. And I'm just like, this is fucking awesome because you earned this.
Yeah.
You went through the game, and, like, one of them that I got, you could potentially miss if you don't do this, like, side dungeon.
Yeah.
That's not, like, one of the main path ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I earned that third one, and it had a completely new separate animation for it. And I was just like, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, that area before you fight that character, spoilers over really.
Yeah.
Before that,
I was gonna say, like, this is longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah. So before that, then you're in this, like, big area with a bunch of, like, super strong enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your, you know, companions, and you got the best weapons you could have at that point in the game, and you're just tearing shit up.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, good. Who the fuck designed chapter 13?
Yeah, who did 13?
Oh, I didn't even finish what I was saying about the saves. So, you can't save whenever you want. It doesn't save checkpoints.
Yeah.
So you have to manually save. Guess what you have to do to manually save? every once in a while you'll be going through the corridors, and there will be a room that you go in. You can sit down and spend your XP and level up, and that's the only places you can save it.
Yeah, it like you bring this stuff up made me like, all right. Before I say all this, because there's, and I'm going to get on the fanboy issue probably later in this podcast. I like Sega. I have no problem with Sega, and I have no real problems with Sonic, even though there's a lot of problems with Sonic. Yeah. But one of the biggest culprit I feel of game changing to where it's like so annoying is Sonic the Hedgehog. Because like you play the first couple levels and you're flying through and it has some platforming attached to it, and then the later part of the game it becomes a pure platformer.
Yeah, like you're not going fast, you're jumping.
Yeah, you're just jumping, and it's so annoying because like when you're playing Sonic, you're like, the reason I got this is because of the blast processing, and I want to go fast, and it's awesome because you can get certain shoes to make it go faster, and you won't even have to spin. And then next thing you know, you're like in the 5th level, and you're like jumping on very specific platforms that are like disappearing at the same sense. And I'm like, see, Sega? I'm like, this is why you cannot compete with Nintendo. Because you had an idea, and the idea is fine. Like, I love the idea. Like, you're going fast, it's arcadey, you can play with a friend, blah, 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 blah. But then next thing you know, you're just doing platforming. And it's like, I got this game. I remember when I got this game, I got it to, not because I hated platforming, but I wanted an extra option when it came to platforming.
Yeah, like, that game didn't realize that, like, when developers put these like twists on everything you were doing, they're trying to add variety. What Sonic didn't realize is that they already had something unique. That they were already doing something unique. From
it was a variety. Yeah. It was the variety was to go fast, get all the coins you can, get the Chaos Emeralds,
find the fastest route. It was like a perfect time trial.
Yeah, because even when you did the Chaos Emeralds, it was cool because they put you on the track and you had to move left and right and avoid certain things, so you're still going fast. Yeah. But then at a certain point, it's like, like how can you ruin like this idea? Because like later in the game, it's like it was so frustrating, and then they did it in the later games, and they just got worse. And there was a point where they made Sonic 3D World or whatever, Sonic Blast or whatever. Can't even think of it now because
Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, I'm getting so pissed off. Is they made it just like a platformer, and people were like, from the beginning, were like, all right, we like platformers, but Sonic, you created this aura around this character, that's supposed to be fast, supposed to be quick, arcade action, blah 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 blah, and then next thing you know, you're like stopping every 5 minutes just to jump on something or avoid something, and it's just like, geez Louise, it's like, because I was just thinking like, man, like I liked playing the Sonic games, and I'm one to like, I'll defend Sega, I won't like jump into a fire for Sega, you know what I mean? But like I was just thinking like that was the biggest culprit in my mind. Like RPGs, like they have a really bad habit of doing that. Like I was thinking back of every RPG I've played, they have a horrible habit of having an idea, making the flow work so well, and that's why I like RPGs so much, is because they do character development really well. If it's open-ended, you can go anywhere you want to. Like, I was thinking of a game that like is consistent, that did the quickness and the jumping and the platforming like really well, was Rayman Legends. Like, if you play Rayman Legends, like that's a perfect flow. And it gives you the option. You can go through this quickly and still get everything done, or you can go through this at a steadier pace and collect everything. Yeah. But it's fun either way. You know what I mean? And RPGs, for some reason, have a horrible habit of where, well, at least everyone I've played, where you're progressing through the game, you understand the characters, you understand the ideology, you understand how to do the combat, and then next thing you know, they stick you in a predicament that's like totally opposite. Like even Final Fantasy VII did it. Like at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, you're earning your summons, you're earning your spells, blah blah blah. But then it gets to a certain point where you're like crossing a lake and a snake beats you just because it's like a level, like a ridiculous level, and you have to cross that area or you won't be able to get to a certain place in the map or whatever. It's like why do they insist on doing that? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Another culprit too. Okay, and this isn't even like at the very end of the game, which is like what I was talking about. So, you played through Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember any bosses in that game where there was like only one way you can win? Only one way you could beat this boss.
Well, I have to. This is where my honesty comes out. I cheated a lot to win in that game.
How so?
And what I meant, and you gave me credit for it, but technically, I feel it still is cheating. Is I would go to a boss and find the area that they couldn't necessarily get to, but I could hit them from.
Yeah, but that. But I mean, so that shows right there that every boss had some way of being killed, like multiple ways. Well, I picked up Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
Okay, because I really grew to enjoy those games and really like them. Like I tried Dark Souls 1 again and Demon's Souls.
You better get it right.
Yeah. And I couldn't really get into those, but from Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and then I picked up Dark Souls 3. I was like super excited. It was coming out. It looked gorgeous. And I mean, it still looked gorgeous. It was super fun. The first like 15, 18 hours I put into it or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, then I came across this boss. And I was high enough level to beat it theoretically, but I just couldn't. And like I left that boss for another 5-6 hours. Came back even stronger. And I couldn't beat him. Like, nothing would work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And usually I have to get to my absolute breaking point to look up a boss strategy.
Yeah.
I'll look up item names or, like, best things to, like, first put stats into for, like, the type of build you want.
Yeah.
I'll look up that. But when it comes to the bosses, I don't look up strategies for them.
You want to figure it out on your end, yeah.
Yeah, because in that game, like, a lot of people say Bloodborne and Dark Souls, those games are super hard. They're not hard. They're just fair, and they're very much like...
There's a strategic difficulty, I think.
Yeah, they have... But the game has rules, and the thing is that in most games, you're stronger than most enemies you're going to come across. They have 1 or 2 attacks, and you're jumping and diving and, whatever. Mm-hmm. Bloodborne, it's like, whatever you can do, they can do if they're that type of build of like an enemy. Yeah. So they're super fair. They play by the rules. That's awesome. Okay. So finally, I'm playing, and I came back after another 6 hours. Walked away, got even stronger, got deeper into the game, and at that point, I realized this was an optional boss.
Yeah.
Go back to it another like 4 hours later.
But you're freaking determined because you're like, I'm not getting my ass whipped by a level 20 Johnny over here.
So, like, I don't even know what level he was.
But I'm just saying,
I'm just like, this makes no sense. Like, I'm making contact, I'm hitting him, I'm dodging shit. But then, like, there would be, like, 1 or 2 big hits he gets on me, and I'm done, even if I've been whacking at him for 20, 30 minutes. Oh, you're gross. Like, but there was... Literally what happened the last time is I was fighting him for like, and I timed it 25 minutes.
Yeah. I
used all my stuff that I had, like any special items that I could use, everything. I couldn't. I was like, all right, pulling out the phone. Turns out, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's basically, sure, if you're like max level, like highest you could possibly be, you've beaten everything else in the game, you can come back and maybe beat this thing in like a half hour. Or there's a weapon that kills it in 3 hits.
Oh, that's gay. Or, sorry, that's dumb.
It was dumb, and it was like, I hit that, and I probably had like, I don't know, probably like another 20-25% left of the game. Mm-hmm. I read that and went, Dark Souls, you just broke your own rules. You broke the rules, I'm done. Yeah. And I immediately, like, as soon as I read that, I didn't save, I didn't, like, back out to the home screen on the PS4. I just took the fucking disc out, put it in, and I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to GameStop. I'm
be back.
I'm trading this shit in because this is bullshit.
You're like, I'd rather get Madden 2010 than, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like... And I probably bought some crappy game with it, just like in spite. And I was just like, Because those games have always played by their own rules.
Yeah.
And it's all fair.
That's what I liked about it, because I remember when the first boss I beat, I felt like I cheated because I found this one spot where he would come and jump, and I would just roll out of the way, and he would stay there for a second, and I would just hit the shit out of him. And then after a while, I kept on going to that spot, and then I beat him. I'm like, I fucking beat him, but I feel awesome, but I feel like I cheated. And I texted my brother, or maybe I messaged you on Facebook or something. I was just like, I just beat the first boss, and this is kind of how I did it. And you're like, no, that's fine.
That's Dark Souls.
Yeah, you're like,
it has a rule set, and as long as you, unless you, hack your system or do, some crazy glitch.
And this was just through my PS4, which I'm sure you can hack, but it definitely wasn't like I hacked it or whatever,
Yeah, if it's designed to where there's a corner you can stand in and fuck this boss up, that's fair.
Yeah.
But to have a boss that can be beaten in 3 hits by a special weapon that you have to find, that breaks its own rules.
It makes it mandatory to get that very specific thing.
Yeah.
When the rest of the game, you can kill any boss with
any weapon, as long as you're skilled enough, you're quick enough, and it's at a normal rate that their health and stuff goes down.
Yeah, that's one thing I also like to. One more comment on the Bloodborne thing that I like the most about Bloodborne is I used one weapon the whole game.
Yeah,
I upgraded myself, my character, my health and everything else like that. But I just used the Shith or however you pronounce it.
Dark Souls is really different when it comes to that. Bloodborne, there's really not that many weapons as opposed to Dark Souls where there's just a massive list.
Yeah.
But that's why they designed those weapons that way, to where they change and stuff. And then you have, the pistol you can pull out or whatever that you choose to use. And it's because they designed it that way so you could focus on a weapon and get really good at it to take anything out.
Now, one topic I wanted to bring up, and this might sound weird, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but the topic I thought of is how being a fanboy of something can actually be negative, like a negative thing. And what I mean by that is I was reading a lot about the Nintendo Switch coming out. For some reason, I was gathering more intel because for some reason I was so hell-bent on thinking this is what the Wii U should have been. I'm hell-bent on thinking Nintendo fucked up, and they're doing the Switch, you know what I mean? And they know they fucked up, but the people that are fans of that system refuse to admit, that Nintendo isn't perfect. You know what I mean?
I know. I wish we could all get on the same page with Nintendo and go, stop making fucking hardware. Publish your games so anybody can play them.
Well, I was thinking about that, and I understand why you like Sony, and I like Sony a lot. That's my primary system. But I'm an adult enough, and I feel like you are too. When Sony does something fucked up, when the servers go out, or they do the stupid updates or whatever like that, I'm willing to be all right, this is monotonous, or this is ridiculous. And some people, I don't know why, and it probably shouldn't annoy me, and I don't know why I'm nitpicking on it, but it's it almost keeps the pleasure out of certain things. So for example, if there's an Xbox game I like let's say I like Left 4 Dead, someone might be oh, on the PlayStation we have blah blah Dead Rising, or you know what I mean? Just an example, it's can't I just enjoy because I was reading this Xbox thread recently, learning more about both systems, and just because when I'm not doing my work, I like to read nerdy stuff, and just to break the mold or whatever. And it was a lot of the comments was yeah, but the PS4 blah 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 blah. I'm nowhere in the article did it say Xbox One is doing this because of the PS4. It was just a narrative piece about what it has to offer. You know what I mean? And it's I understand some of it because it is competition, but I feel there's some people out there that are so dead set on a certain system, where it's Xbox One, the PC Master Race, or the PS4. It's because I even have a couple friends that are why are you still playing on consoles? I'm one, it's affordable for me, and two, it's way more accessible for games.
Yeah, because I plug and play. You plug it into a TV, you plug it into a wall.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about when a new game comes out, Battlefield 1. I don't have to go through my system specs, be oh, do I have the right whatever for this or whatever? Yeah. Do I have the right amount of memory or I still have to worry about memory, but that's a different topic. But I just want to say, for me, I feel if I'm leaning toward a system or a company, maybe it's Sony, because they've I used to actually be a lot more towards Microsoft. Not towards Microsoft, but the first system I had that was next gen beyond the PS2 was the 360 until it kept on burning out. Then I went to PS3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it wasn't because like, oh, I hate Sony. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and I mean, yeah, because you're talking about, I'm mature enough to like, notice when the company I prefer fucks up, and also like, I am a Sony fanboy. I love the ecosystem. I have a ton of digital downloads in that ecosystem, but there was a couple games that I wanted to try on Xbox One. Okay, so I actually bought one. And for me personally, like, the exclusives that were on there, which were not very many that were, like, to my taste, what I like.
Yeah.
I bought the system. I had it for, like, maybe 4 months. And I was just like, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
I fucked up. Because the exclusives that they have just aren't for me. Like, I didn't want to play another Gears of War. Like, and from everything I've seen, that's a game where the first, half of the game is fun and then the back half is bad. So I even tried having an Xbox One as well, and it just didn't work out for me. That controller was just bad, and, so I gave it a shot. And then also, like, and I was telling you about, Return to Arkham. So I ended up getting the PlayStation Pro, the PS4 Pro. I have a 4K TV that does 4K gaming. Like, most of it's simulated or something.
Upscaled?
Yeah, upscaled besides, like, the Sony first-party games. Well, fucking Sony needs to, because they put this system out, because they're claiming 4K, because these games are patching in the 4K, they need to be pouring over these updates just as much as the game developers are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I put in Return to Arkham, and I decided to try out Arkham City, and they had just pushed out an 8 gig update.
Which is huge.
It was an 8 gig update to add 4K optimization to Arkham City on the PS4. And I have a 4K TV. I have the PS4 Pro. I had ran that game without that update, and it worked fine.
Yeah.
I ran that today after the update, and my character's face wouldn't even fucking load.
Which is dumb. It's so miserable.
And not only is that the developer and the publisher's fault, it should also be on Sony going, look, we put this new console out, we're touting these features. They need to be there going, look, we're going to super test these patches you're doing, because if they're not up to snuff and people find out that this console isn't, going to output and do what it does, and granted, there are games that you can either have look better or run at better frame rate. Like Titanfall looks nuts on that thing.
Yeah.
That Tomb Raider game that I was playing out there, that has 2 modes where it's like it can be 4K super crystal image, or you can have it running at a super smooth frame rate, or you have a middle ground where it literally like chooses depending on the scene. So there are games that are, making this system worth it, but Sony's fucking up if they're gonna let patches like that go through and fuck up a game.
Yeah.
And that's on, and for me, it's not just the developers, because they're like, well, sure, we'll put it all out there so that we can say, hey, our game supports 4K on Facebook, and have people who bought the damn thing go out and buy the system.
Rebuy it, yeah.
But it's on Sony to make it fucking readily apparent that when we put these patches in for you guys, we're going to make sure they're working right. And Sony didn't do that this time.
And see, like, that's why I heard a lot of, from PC people, like, Steam is the best thing. It has all the games. I'm like, I have literally watched a YouTube guy show some of the Steam games that are available, and they're hot garbage.
Yeah.
Because there's no, like, they say there's, like, a greenlight system or a system you have to, like, pass through or something. But it's like, that must have the lowest end like grading ever. Because like I feel like I could publish a game and I don't know anything about game development, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can take a bunch of assets, like, because you can buy asset packs in an engine and throw those assets into that engine, and put a gun in first person and call it a game and put it on the market. It's technically a game, but it's a piece of garbage.
Yeah. So what I'm basically saying is, like, there's no problem with being a fan of something. Like, I like Sony. There's a lot of games I've been looking up on the Xbox One that I really wish I could play. Unfortunately, I don't have one. And I even had a Wii U. I mean, Monica and I, my fiance, still play the Wii U, even though, like, I have issues with that system. I just think, like, I just sometimes wish people would, like, broaden their horizons. And that's why I like talking to you about games, is because we don't put, like, a barrier in between ourselves. Yeah. Like, because whenever I did have a 360 and then you did, and then you moved on to the PS3 before me, you weren't like, dude, what are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. You're like, oh, you're still playing Left 4 Dead? I was like, yeah. Or, you know what I mean? It's like...
and that's the thing. Like, I prefer the Sony ecosystem. It's a personal preference type deal. And I tried out the Xbox One. It didn't work out for me. But I'm not one of those guys who's going to, like, get in somebody's face and go... Hey, you have an Xbox One, you're a piece of shit child.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's like...
That's your taste, or that's your preference, or...
Their buddies are on there, and they like to play Gears of War. Mm-hmm. Like, more power to you. Like, there's one game that is on Xbox that I wish I could play, and that's the Forza
Horizon or whatever, yeah.
But it's not worth a,
system purchase for that, yeah.
Which I learned that lesson the hard way, because there was, like, a few games, like... One of the reasons I bought the Xbox One was I was like, oh man, I want to play Dead Rising 3.
Yeah, that's like me with my 3DS. I got a 3DS. I bought it at Game Changers, like one of our local like gaming stores, to play like some more like RPG games, and it kind of sits a lot because it's like I'll play it for a little bit. And then I'm like, I'd rather just play on my big TV. You know what I mean? Like,
to be fair, I did tell you should get a Vita. I just want that on the record. That Vita has all the classic PS1 JRPGs. So
like, and you know what my least favorite thing about the 3DS? The YouTube channel on it is awful, like bad awful.
I had mine. I didn't even download it.
Because I remember when I had I think I had the Vita at one point, or not the Vita. What was the one with
PSP?
I had the I had the PSP at one point, and like I think anytime I watched a video on it, it was clear. Mm-hmm. On the 3DS, I'll bring it over next time. Yeah. It's so bad. Like, I have like decent internet now. The reason I know is because I watch
the processor on that fucking thing. It's weak.
I watch on my phone, and it's like it upscales it to 1080p. Like that's the high. Like I don't have a 4K phone. Do they exist yet? They should. But it'll go up to 1080p, which is funny. Like, there's no 4K phone, is there?
We're going to look it up right after.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up because, like, that'd be weird if there isn't.
No, there's no way because, like, we'll talk about it because even, like, the streaming services I have on that TV out there, like... It's really hard to have a signal fast enough to do it. Stream 4K.
Well, that's the thing I was even saying is like, so the 3DS, like when I watch YouTube on my old internet, I'm like, okay, it's slow and cruddy, so that's why the screen is like that. And then I go to, because like it's nice to just sit there in bed and just like watch YouTube before you fall asleep or whatever, or that's something I like to do. It's just, it looks bad. So anyways, get off of that horse.
But, I mean, yeah, it can be... Real fanboys are people who are fans of something, and because they're so passionate about it, they'll point out when they're dropping the ball. Like, think about how many exclusives Sony had this year.
Other than indies? I can't really think of many, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Uncharted 4, Crickets.
Yeah, I was like thinking, I'm like... Because they pushed a lot of indie games, I guess, but nothing like...
Yeah. So this year, like, if somebody was like, hey, which system should I get for the new exclusives coming out? Like, I couldn't say PS4.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Xbox One, I think they had quite a few exclusives come out, but they're not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't push that either. But
the one I would want to play that I wish was on PS4 is the Rare Replay. Just because, like, I would love to go back and play, like, Battletoads and stuff and, like... Conker's Bad Fur Day and everything. Yeah. Like I wish the PS4 had that just cause. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Microsoft bought Rare. And that's the thing, but then
rest in peace.
But for me, when it comes to like that then because whenever I'm like seeing an exclusive and I'm like, man, I wish I could play that, but I can't. I try to look for like an alternative elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so next year Ukulele's coming out. which is from the guys who actually made Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
So it's like an old school, like, 3D platformer, and I'm like, man.
What happened to Last Guardian, by the way? I heard it's like shitty, or like it didn't get very good like reviews or something.
Honestly, I feel like it depends on the reviewers, because from what I've heard, like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus can go fuck off and die. There's nothing about those games that appeal to me. Yeah. Oh, it's art. And it's like, no, it's not.
That's like those walking simulator games. I don't understand those. I was going to download like Everyone Goes to Rapture or Everybody's Gone to Rapture. But I'm like...
Well, it's free. You can try it out.
Would I like that? Probably not. I don't think I'd like it.
There's one I did like.
What's that?
The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Oh, I never even heard of that, to be honest
with
you.
I'll just spoil it because you're probably never going to play it. I'll explain it afterwards. It's like this super interesting game.
But can you consider... I guess it is an experience, but you're like...
Well, that one you're solving puzzles. A lot of them you're like solving puzzles. Like this one, in The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, you'll see objects and you can interact with them and not like pick them up and move them around. It's like, okay, you see this object, then you need to connect it to the next object, and then what you have to do is put those memories, because like the objects create like a memory thing to see what happened, and then you put those things in order, and then
it's like Minority Report.
Yeah, so then it plays out the whole scene of what happened.
I love that movie.
So some of them are okay. Gone Home, I respect Gone Home in terms of like what the story ended up being about. It's about, a young lesbian and how awkward and hard that is. Like, and your like sister joins the military and leaves, and then like your mom's cheating on the dad. Like, and so that's what it's about. And the whole game seems like it's a horror game leading up to it. So by the time you're going up to the attic, which is where you find out that like she ran off with her lover, your younger sister, the lesbian, like you think a ghost is gonna pop out and kill your ass, or like your dead sister's gonna be like standing there, but it's not. It's not a horror game at all. It's just what happened here. Like, where is everybody? And you're literally just rifling through the house, so it's like really boring unless you're like. I feel like a lot of times you can
dive into it, like.
I feel like a lot of times the games like that are really popular with people who who review games, because they get all the games for free, and they play all the big action games, all that. So then they throw this curveball of this quirky little game where you walk around a house in I think the game's set in the 80s or 90s, and just grab shit and look at it. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's a change of pace. That's refreshing. This game's amazing, and it has a positive,
That was like that was like Limbo for me. Like, I watched a lot of videos of that, and like I'm like, maybe I won't be interested in this. This looks kind of dumb. And then I played it, and like I was hell bent on beating that game. I mean, there's a lot of games, like, I was telling Zach, I'm like, there's so many games I've played and I just never beat for one reason or another. But then I was like, there's certain games, like, when I want to beat it, there's no question I'm beating that fucking thing. Yeah. And Limbo was one of those where it was like, it was just like a small indie game, and like the ending, you're just like, you know what I mean? But it's like, the whole journey, it's like a puzzle, platforming, and like you have to, like, there's parts where it makes you want to rage quit, because you have to do certain things on like a time-based thing, or you die, and you'll die, and you'll die, and you'll die, because I died a whole shit ton.
Well, that studio released their second game, right?
What game was that?
Inside.
I never played that one.
You would like it because the gameplay is very similar to Limbo. It has an even prettier art style, and it gets fucking weird at the end.
Does it? And I think that's another thing I liked about that game too, is like, at the beginning, you're like, okay, this is kind of playing it safe, and the next thing you know, there's like not chainsaws, but like drills and stuff. You're like, what the hell? What am I doing here?
I'll also say that about exclusives, and I'm going to do real quick FU to the video game industry as a whole right now in terms of timed exclusives. Fuck you.
Yeah, why did they do that?
Stop it. So that Inside game that I just told you about, that was one of the only games I beat on the Xbox One. And then a few months later, after I had sold it, it came to PS4.
Oh. Yeah, they're doing that with Dead Rising 4, aren't they? Like, Xbox has it now, and then PS4 will get it?
I guess they may not be now, because they may not do the port work on it. because it's selling like garbage.
I heard it's selling decent. Well, compared to Last Guardian, I guess it's selling better than Last Guardian or something.
But I mean, a zombie game has a million times more appeal than a artsy
little boy
yeah.
calling a big dog
Yeah.
or whatever the hell.
Bird dog.
Bird dog.
But
hey, come here, bird dog.
like another one, like Rise of the Tomb Raider, like
that was PS4 first, wasn't it?
No, that was Xbox One. That was the Inside, and Rise of the Tomb Raider were the only two games that I beat when I had my Xbox.
I don't understand why companies do it, because it's like they're cutting their funds in half. You would think technically.
But the reason they do it is because the reason they do the timed exclusive is exactly what like they did with Rise of the Tomb Raider. And I guess I'm part of the problem because I ended up getting Rise of the Tomb Raider on the PS4. I got it for $10. It's on sale for $30 right now.
Yeah, but you still got it.
And I still got it. They only got...
I'm just going to say that.
Well, and I got the original, the Rise of the Tomb Raider on Xbox One for free. So I played through the Xbox One version. I got the PS4 version for $10. So all in all, I've only paid $10 for both versions of the game. So double fuck you.
I understand your justification.
But the thing is like the reason they do it, they release the game, they get co-marketing dollars. You know, Microsoft probably pumps some money into actual funding development.
Mm-hmm.
That way, all right, so now it's exclusive for a year. And that's the agreement. They're not an official publisher, but like Dead Rising 3...
It's like an executive producer almost. It's like, I'm funding this. You can do what you want.
It's more like a rich uncle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they can sell it. They can sell it as an exclusive.
If you're a rich uncle of ours, please let us know.
Oh, yeah, right. The one with 3 teeth instead of 1.
That's called dental work.
Yeah. He's got money. So what they do is they... Because guess what you're going to get? If you can hold out for 1 year, John.
I don't think I can, man. I don't know. I already put it on my Santa list. We'll see what happens. I'll put it on my Santa list.
So you're going to have a Wii U, a 3DS, a PS4, and an Xbox One.
Hopefully.
And you're still just going to play zombies on Call of Duty.
No, I requested a couple games with it, of course. We'll see what happens. I've seen the tree. It doesn't look promising. And I think because Monica looked at that was like, how much is that? And I was like, no.
Well, they're like $250 right now.
Yeah, but $250 is a lot for a private teacher.
That's true.
But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I asked for that and a drone. So I figure if I ask for two things that cost a lot of money, one of them I have to give.
God, Richie Rich.
Well, no.
Here's
my
idea.
My
Lamborghini.
You could get a $40. I found a $40 drone that does like this auto.
Are they the racing ones? Have you heard about those?
No, this one does where like you push a button and it auto glides and it does video. That's what I've been wanting to do. Is because like I like to go
auto glides
or auto flies. You know, where it just like stays up there by itself, so you don't have to push a button or whatever.
Okay.
And then there's another button you can push for it to land. Well, the reason why I want to do it is because I want to do like videos and stuff, like get it more into like doing like film, like not even short film, but just like kind of like a documentary style. I don't know. It's just like another idea that I've been having.
Ooh, that reminds me. Remember the word documentary.
Okay. Anyways, so I don't know. I flew one of my friends' drone a lot, like when I go to his house, and his is a little bit older, and it's like it doesn't connect really well because it uses the house's Wi-Fi, and he has like Wi-Fi like I used to have at my house.
Oh,
it's miserable. So, like, what'll happen is it'll record the video, but it's like MS-DOS slow. Yeah, it's like frame by. When people talk about 60 frames per second or whatever, this is like 1/10 of a frame per minute. You know what I mean?
It's a decimal.
So, but anyways, yeah, I do want to play Dead Rising so bad.
Well, what I was saying, if you could wait an entire year, what you're going to get, because this is why they do it, they do that way, like what they did with Tomb Raider, comes out a year later as the Ultimate Edition,
Mega Big Bass.
Yeah, so you could get Dead Rising 4 Ultimate Zombie Slayer edition, and it'll have all the DLC.
Well, you could be yourself.
And it'll have all the DLC, and it'll still have microtransactions.
Yeah, micro machines.
Oh, did you hear about that? Activision added microtransactions for gun skins to Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered.
Are you serious? They need it. They just need
Which,
to stop.
like, and
They
the way
need
I
to
saw about it was like,
They need to stop.
Jim Sterling posted a thing about it, and I guess he poo-poos on the idea of like
Microtransactions?
well, he, like, my defense, the whole like, look, you don't have to pay for them. You don't have to buy a fucking gun skin unless you're stupid. And I guess he did some video where he was like saying like that's not an excuse.
I will say there was once I wanted to. There's one time I wanted to.
Look, if you want to, it's
but I didn't.
fine.
Here's the thing, I didn't because I was like no, because it was what it was. It was on Advanced Warfare. You had the whole exosuit where it was like an American flag. Like wrap around it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" But I'm like, 99 cents, not worth it. No, because I don't support it. Like I'm on the same like, you don't need it, you don't buy it, blah 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 blah. So
like, if it has no effect on the game, there's no reason
other than being the true patriot. The best thing is I saw somebody else playing with it. And it's like in game, then I realized that you don't see yourself third person.
No.
I was like, wait a minute.
It's for other people.
You're paying 99 cents for somebody else to see it.
And most of the time, people are looking at your head to shoot you.
Yeah, they're not looking like, oh shit, look at that American flag guy.
Yeah.
And that's what like kind of like also sold me out of it. It's like, wait a minute, why would I buy a skin on a first person shooter? That makes 0 sense. No offense if you've done it, or super offensive if you've done it because you're dumb.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, look, you're the idiots. Like,
yeah,
and
sorry.
if a game development studio, as we talked about, games are cheaper now than they've ever been before, and if that's how they make their money is taking advantage of idiots, guess what? It's a free fucking market.
Free country market.
Free country.
I meant to say free market, Blizz. All right, well, we're coming to the end of our 10th episode. Sorry, I apologize for that. So, is there any final thoughts as we roll into the holiday season?
Final Fantasy 15 is game of the year. It's so good.
Yeah, we still have to cover our. I'm not going to cut off your final thought, but a thought before the final thought.
Oh, I already
we
started
still have
writing
to
my list.
we still have to somehow send in a top 10 games that we've played this year, not of 2016, because I won't have enough for 10, because I'm broke. But we're gonna make both of us are gonna make a top 10 list, if I can stop drilling on myself, of games that we played this year. Anyways, final thoughts.
I thought we were gonna do top 5 because you haven't played that much.
No, I played enough in 2016 to get 10,
Okay.
but I haven't played enough 2016 games to get 10.
Okay, then I need to alter my list again.
Okay.
But I think tomorrow I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna start Dishonored 2. That's my plan, is to start Dishonored 2. Batman Return to Arkham is going back to. It's getting traded into GameStop. That pissed me off. I even thought about like calling Sony and being like, "Hey, I installed this patch," just to like fuck with Sony, just be like, "You guys are assholes."
But
like,
you know, it'll be a guy that can barely. Never mind. I don't want to get into it. Sorry. Go.
But I mean, anybody out there who's at all looked at Final Fantasy 15 and thought that looks cool for any reason, pick it up. Give it a shot. There's a lot of weirdness. And that's the other problem too, is I watched the movie and a lot of people who didn't, I guess, like, the story was disappointing. But
yeah, they're having troubles following the story from what I've heard, because.
But it's not even that hard to follow. Like,
I'm just repeating what other people
have
said.
But even as somebody, like, even if I didn't watch the movie, like, they literally explain everything, and it's like a super basic story. Dude's going on a road trip to meet with his fiance. Are you talking shit about the boys?
The lovely boys.
Also, the ending of that game, dark as shit. It gets real dark. Anyways, so my plan is I'll hopefully have some impressions of Dishonored 2. It's way behind schedule, but
yeah,
like
I played a little bit of Dishonored 1. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, didn't you live stream that?
Yeah, I did.
That was rough. Like,
yeah.
There's like so many items you could have picked up, and you just walk by them. And I was sitting
Listen.
at home
What happened? What happened was I found the ability to throw a head.
Yeah, that was actually really funny though.
Yeah.
It was a fun stream. It was just like, as somebody who loved that game, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and I've been thinking about doing more live streams of games, but like I know it's gonna irritate people because I know how to play games. It's just I don't go and find every single thing sometimes.
Yeah, that's madness.
And that could be maddening. So, anyway,
what's your final thought?
I can do mine, I guess. The one thing I want to say is just like we're gonna try to get our top 10, like I said, for the 2016. We might be able to do one more podcast before the holidays, but we're kind of cutting it close because next week is pretty much it. I look forward to hanging out with everyone. We're doing a white elephant with our family. And if you don't know what a white elephant is A, it's fun for everyone, and B, can save you a ton of money.
I vote next year Secret Santa.
Oh, a Secret Santa would be fun too. But I don't know. The holidays can be tough for people, so if it's not your thing, just try to get some joy out of it if you can. A lot of people are working, and that's a kind of an unfortunate thing because one of the stories I always remember is during World War. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2. I think it was 2. Where during Christmas, the Germans and the Allies, World War One, during Christmas, the German and the Allies actually took a break from war to play soccer with one another. So think about that in retrospect. I think, whether you believe in the Christian faith, it's a pagan holiday, and everything. I just hope everyone gets the time to reflect with themselves, their families if they have one, or whatever, and just try to get some joy out of a stressful year that we've had in 2016 with everything that's gone on. So just look forward to us posting back on SoundCloud, and thank you. Have a nice day.